Hey everyone, welcome to another Tea Time Chat. Today I'm thrilled to be joined by Nikki Creel, and we're talking all about a whole heap of new Twitter features, and there's been a lot going on, so we've got quite a lot to cover. So Nikki, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you very much for inviting me in. It's going to be good fun.
Good. And I've got my cup of tea. I've got a proper Cornwall mug today. So I don't know what Cornwall can send me. I don't know, some rolling fields or something. But if you haven't been, plug for Cornwall. It's a fantastic holiday. Go and have fun down there. So we've got a bit of an agenda, Nikki. We should start by kind of explaining who you are. So, you know, you've got like 1 billion followers on Twitter or something, and you've written a really great book. So this is your plug chance.
Okay. I've been on Twitter. Let me do a little hold up my book pose. I've got a book on how to Twitter for business success, and I'm getting sent pictures from around the world of people taking pictures of my book, which has been great fun. It's been up in a hot air balloon. I've got a picture somebody took it underwater. I've got people on beaches reading it, in a coffin. So it's amazing what people will think of places to put my book. But I've been
one on the Great Wall of
Twitter
China or something, isn't there? Is it one on the Great Wall of China?
No, it's Hadrian's Wall.
Oh, okay, slightly different. Okay.
It hasn't got there yet. It's been to Cape Verde. Yeah, sort of like it goes back in people's backpacks when they go traveling. So it's good fun. I've been on Twitter since 2009, and I've been training Twitter, and I've trained well over 1,000 business owners how to use Twitter since 2010. So for the last 5 years, I've been doing social media training. Well, not only Twitter, obviously I do LinkedIn, Facebook, and Google Plus, YouTube, whatever people need for their business. But yeah, I kind of like Twitter. I'm a little bit passionate about Twitter.
Okay.
So I'm really thrilled to be.
Excellent. It's great to have you on the show. Great to have you on the show. So before we dive into the agenda, I should say, as usual, if you're watching this live or you're watching this later on YouTube, it'll be there. Then do ask us questions in the comments, and we'll try and get to them if you're stuck. Things we talk about in the show, we might reference blog posts, maybe other videos and bits and pieces, or even future things we might be doing. So we'll add those links in the description or in the comments as well for you afterwards. So let's just talk about, so this show, we should explain, is not about the kind of basics. How do I tweet? How to reply? We'll assume that you understand those things. This is more about things in the last, certainly the last 2 to 3 months that have happened on Twitter, and new features and functions and changes to things, and maybe a bit longer ago than that. Something that has been around for a while, and I know it confuses a lot of people, and I get a lot of people saying, how do you do that with your tweets? Is how do I get that, you know, that tweet and it's got a picture of like a blog post or something? How do I make that happen? So let's start with that, Nikki. How does someone make that happen?
Okay, what we're talking about is called Twitter cards. And Twitter cards, if you've got a WordPress blog, you would attach it. So you would do something on your WordPress, so you'd get a plugin. Normally you need to have Yoast host as part of your plugins already installed, which for SEO is really good. But I know we're not talking about that now. You need to authenticate so that you've got a proper Twitter account, and it's a plugin that you'd install. And what it does is it creates a picture. So it either will grab an automatic picture, or you will grab tell it which picture you would like for which post. So I tend to use photo posts because it gives me far bigger coverage. So it means that when anybody uses my URL for my blog, so if anybody tweets a link for my blog, below the tweet there's a lovely picture, and I like using as much space as I can. So I go for the photo post rather than, I think there's link posts that you can do, etc. For out of Twitter cards, there's quite a number of them that you can do. So you know, I've just gone photo because nice big picture underneath, it gives you more coverage, makes it far more interesting for people to see. And what's quite nice is you can actually track who's clicked on those Twitter cards, so you get a little bit of the blurb of what your blog is about, and it gives far more visibility in total.
Okay, so
I know you're going to talk. Yeah, you're going to talk about
Twitter, about the other way you can do it.
If you can't do it, if you're not using WordPress blog,
there's another way you can do it. Yeah, I mean the reason for doing it is You know, I like them because if someone shares a link and you don't have that kind of metadata, if you like, you know, that supporting data, it's just a link in a tweet, and it's kind of, I don't know what that is, and I'm less likely to click it if I don't know what I'm going to get when I get to the end of that click. And if it's somebody I don't know, hey, that could be a phishing attack. You know, you could be going anywhere. So, you know, it's always nice to kind of go, I can see what this blog post is about, or I can see what this page is about before I go there. So you certainly get more interaction on those. I was just going to, if I can do this, by the way, you spoke about WordPress. I mean, plugins are available, I'm sure, for Joomla and Magento and things like that. And some of them might have this built in. But for anyone who's kind of understands the basics of HTML code and metadata, that kind of stuff, effectively it creates some meta tags that are specific to Twitter on the page, so that when you tweet a link, Twitter looks at that code on the page and says, they want the image to be this, and they want the title to be this, and they want the description to be this. So it's kind of like Facebook does the same thing. If you share a link, it guesses what image you want. And you can do the same thing for Facebook, actually, and we'll do that maybe on another show sometime. But with this, you're basically saying, dear Twitter, I want you to share this image in my tweet. And it doesn't only work on your account, it works if anybody shares your link actually on Twitter as well, which is also really important. Let's see if I can just do a quick screen share, and I will show you. Okay, so can you see that, Nikki?
No, yes, I can.
So you can see that. So so let's just pin that 1 second. So you can see this is that ridiculously big list of Twitter chat hours I did, and this part here at the top. Can you see my pointer when I'm doing this, by the way?
No,
you can see it, but you can see about 4 lines down, you got meta property. That's all kind of standard Google stuff, and then as this little open graph, so that's Google and Facebook respond to that stuff. And if you look down towards where the green section where it says Yoast WordPress SEO plugin, we happen to use that one. Just above that, there's about 6 or 7 lines that say meta name, Twitter title is, and Twitter site is, Twitter domain is, and Twitter image is, and so on and so on. And that's really what Twitter's looking for, and it's pulling that data from the web page and then creating that Twitter card. And what you end up with, as you say, is that richer tweet. So the other thing I was just going to show you, just to add to that, is if for whatever reason you can't implement that on your website, and by the way, other plugins are available for WordPress as well as Yoast.
Yeah, no.
So we should. I use that one on our site, but I know there are others, and I used another one before Yoast did it kind of natively. But if you can't do that, or you want to do something slightly different,
Mark, I was just going to say that. Yeah, that coding would totally freak anybody I know out.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Well, that's done. Just generated by the plugin. So, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, Twitter has just launched a plugin. I haven't had a look at it, an official Twitter WordPress plugin, and I'm quite curious because I haven't had a play with it, whether it will do it more automatically. I'm hoping that it's built it into that plugin, which would be good.
Oh, WordPress.
But I don't know. So, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I think I did see it. It was 6-8 weeks ago. Something like that. Yeah. I think the challenge is, I mean, the beauty of, and we're not plugging Yoast here particularly, but the beauty of Yoast is that this metadata that you would want for Twitter is done by Yoast, and Yoast will also do your open graph data, which is that rich data also for Google Plus when you're sharing links, and also for Facebook, and LinkedIn also uses it as well, I think. So you can kind of do it all in one place. It's a bit easier rather than having a plugin for Twitter and a plugin for something else and a plugin for something else. So, but yeah, that code I showed you, that scary code, is generated by that plugin. So you don't really have to get sort of open brackets and close brackets and all that codey stuff. However, so what I was going to show you is just a slightly different tab on my browser. So if you want to create something similar, let me just share my screen. What you can do is you can go into ads.twitter.com, and that will give you a number of different things, and then you go to creatives. Okay. Right. So you go to creatives and then to cards, and then click on website, and then you can see ones that I've created before. But all you do is create a website card, and then you fill in the blanks. So you would add an image, and I'm not going to go through a kind of big extensive demo. Maybe we'll do another show specifically on this, or a video specifically on it, or we'll do a blog post or something. But you add your image, you put your website URL, which is where the person clicking will end up going to. You put your headline, and then you can have an action. And what you end up with is, this is the one I did for this show with Nikki. So I created this one. So just to show you how I kind of filled it in. I got my image. I just created that with Google Docs, by the way. Just it's pretty easy. And then the website was just directing people to the subscribe URL on our YouTube channel. And then there's the headline. And then register now is the button. But you could have that saying whatever you want. So if you can't put that Twitter card. Let's just stop that and go back to me. If you can't put that code on, you can't use a plugin for whatever reason, or you want to direct somebody to somewhere slightly different that doesn't have that built in, then you can go and create those Twitter cards yourself using ads.twitter.com and go through that card process. And then that will give you a URL, which is a Twitter URL. And when you share that, it pulls that rich data through exactly the same way as you were saying, Nikki, as if you'd shared it from a WordPress page or a website. So yeah. So have you done sort of much extensive testing on that, Nikki? Have you kind of tested one without and one with, or did you notice an uplift when you started using it?
Well, I know that you can actually, in Twitter Analytics, you can actually see the results of how many people have your Twitter account. So that is, you know, sort of a lot more visible, the effectiveness and the reach of it. So, I mean, once I've set up something, I'm ready to go. I will test headlines, or used to test headlines, but having a picture, I know, just catches your eye a lot more. So I haven't tested different types. I chose photo and it's set up, and then, you know, I'm leaving things as they are. So
sure. Okay.
Yes.
Good stuff. And you mentioned analytics. We're going to come back to that, but since you mentioned it, why don't we talk about analytics now? Because this is really cool. I mean, it gives you so much more visibility now as to what's going on. So why don't you give us a quick rundown of Twitter Analytics?
Okay, Twitter Analytics was launched in October last year, so it's not new, but a lot of people don't even know that it's there. You used to have to go to something called, like, I think it was analytics.twitter.com.
That's right.
And to actually access it. Whereas now, if you're on twitter.com, all you do is you click your face icon and you can see analytics and as one of the drop-down options below. So it's really great because you can actually get access to it. It opens up on a new page and it gives you a synopsis of what exactly has been happening. It will also show you exactly how many people have seen your tweet. Now, it may be a bit shocking if you think that lots of people, because if you look at something like Summel or tools that will look at your reach and how much, you know, some people potentially are seeing you, the figures are astronomical, and you get something like 1 billion or million, you know, reach.
Well, you might. Most people aren't.
I know, I don't have that many people.
I get like 6 million or something a month, I think, according to Summel. But you got like, I think you're about.
No, I've never had 1 billion. I've never had 1 billion. So.
Okay.
I know, but so it looks phenomenal. You think, wow, it's really good. But what I like about Twitter Analytics is actually shows you how many people actually saw your tweets. So it might be a little bit of a, you know, sort of I blow to your ego if your ego is justified by how many people you see your tweet, but you can realistically see which tweets, how much engagements they get, how many people are clicking on. So like if you've got a photo, people will click on, they count that as an engagement, how many people retweeting you, etc. You can also have a nice picture of your followers, so you can actually get a proper feel of who your followers are, which countries they're in, which industries they're in, which I think is really useful as well. So it gives you a far better flavor for understanding how Twitter works. So, and if you can measure things, you can then improve them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's that old adage of what gets measured gets managed. I think, you know, so that works. And that's also, you can access the analytics for a specific tweet as well, can't you? So
yes,
you got it for the whole account
yeah.
and users and all the interaction, engagement, that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
but you've
for
also
every tweet you can see.
every tweet. Yeah, every tweet of yours, you can't see other people's.
No.
So yeah, what you were saying about some all, yeah, that if I tweet something and you retweet it, then it will say my reach is 20,000 people because that's how many followers you got. That doesn't mean to say those 20,000 followers, every single one of them saw it. It just means potentially it reached 20,000 people. What the Twitter analytics does then is that tells you how many times that tweet has actually been rendered on someone's Twitter feed. So they're in their app, they're on the mobile website, they're on desktop, normal browser or whatever. But that means they scrolled past that tweet, they've actually seen it. So that gives you a much more real sense of actually how far your tweet is going, if you like. But yeah, that's good. And I think they've been adding a few things in there, haven't they, Nikki? It's not been static for the last 6 months.
No, it's actually changed quite a lot because they've added more stuff. So they've now got a front page. So they added something in front of, because you used to go straight into the tweets and seeing how effective the tweets were. Now you can actually see which ones are more retweeted. So it gives you a broader picture, because quite often you get lost in the details. So it's quite nice to have, I think it's a month that it will look at the synopsis. So, I mean, so basically it gives you a different way to view your Twitter and how what's working for you. And sometimes it's quite surprising which things are more popular. But I noticed quite quickly, looking at Twitter analytics, that photos were having far, far more impact than anything else I was doing.
Do you think that's because they are photos, or do you think, a bit like Facebook, they're kind of more likely to show up in people's news feeds because they're photos, which is what happens on Facebook? I mean,
I think people naturally are curious about photos. Most of us tend to have a preference for sensory or visual senses. So our eyes get drawn to pictures. And obviously you've got a lot more traction. So like if you tweet by itself, it's just text. If you tweet with photograph included, there's something visually appealing. So we instantly are going more towards pictures, and your brain processes pictures. I think I've seen statistics, I don't know how they ever measured it, but it's about 60,000 times faster than text.
Really?
Yeah. 60,000 times. So pictures have an amazing impact. I mean, on a website, you want pictures in there just to draw people's attention, keep people interested. So sure. Pictures are really important across all social media.
Yeah. Okay. And what would you recommend for people? How often should they be checking their Twitter analytics?
Well, I think it's with all things. I don't think you should get lost and become too anal about it and sort of get lost in too much detail. But I think it's useful to actually every now and then look at them and sort of see what is having more effect. Is it a particular time? Are there certain days when I'm doing something that is giving me more coverage, getting to see more people retweeting, and obviously do more of the things that work for you. And well, I'm going to say do less of what doesn't work, but basically if you do more of the things that are right, you're likely to get better results anyway.
Sure. Okay.
Sometimes it might just be the time that you sent a tweet that nobody saw it, or none of your friends saw it, or people that you normally tweet with.
Yeah. I always find it difficult with that. That was really successful, and I did that at 2:00, so I'll do it at 2:00 tomorrow. Well, it may not. There are so many variables. It could be just a particular person saw that tweet and retweeted it, and Nikki saw it and she retweeted it to 20,000 people, and that's why it suddenly got a load of attention. It's nothing to do with the fact that it was Wednesday and it was 2:13 p.m. in the afternoon. If you tweet the same thing at 2:13 p.m. the following Wednesday, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get the same impact. So yeah, I think the analytics and the data are great, but you have to understand the context of those things, and I think you need to, like all data, you want to have a look at a spread of it, not one specific tweet or something.
I know people are saying that because I think it only does the last 90 days. I might be wrong. I can't remember. There's a certain days and then you lose it. But to be honest, I've never been that incredibly bothered about all my past data. I kind of like looking at what's happening now, because quite often you change your habits quite distinctly in the last few months. So you can download all your data if you want to analyze it over long term. So that might be worth doing if you are that way inclined.
Sure. Okay, good. So something else that's new, and I had a lot of fun and confused a whole bunch of people when this happened. Someone was tweeting me. This is 5-6 weeks ago now, and I kind of, how did you do that? And there was this kind of embedded tweet in a tweet. What's all that about?
Okay, I'm very pleased that they've actually done something about the retweeting. So now when you retweet on, I think it's twitter.com, rather than, a lot of people use mobile devices and the app. So you've always had the option to retweet with a quote on using a mobile device. But on twitter.com, you've had to basically cut and paste and put the RT if you want to retweet somebody and if you want to add a comment. So you either just retweet it as it is, or you have to go to quite a lot of work to actually retweet it with a comment. Whereas now all you do is when you click retweet, it gives you that option, and you can add 116 characters of commentary to it. I think so it's really great because instead of just retweeting, you actually giving your comments. What is not so great is when people come and they see your retweet, so they can see what your comment is, they can see what you're tweeting about because it's embedded below. But if they hit retweet, it just retweets your comment, and it's got like a Twitter link. So yes, it loses its meaning, and it's a bit confusing about how to retweet the original tweet, which is ultimately what you want to go out. Because
okay, so that's quite confusing. So let's just try and label these things. So we've got a tweet. Let's call it the original tweet, the first tweet, the original tweet. Now, so if you tweet something and then I retweet but quote, then your original tweet gets embedded in my secondary tweet. Okay. Now, if Dave, it's got to be Dave, obviously. If Dave then retweets my secondary retweet, so he's got the tertiary tweet, he just gets a link to my tweet, and your embed, your image, that's kind of disappeared. So yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
Have I got that around the right way?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I did this when it first happened, which is a couple of people that happened to be talking to me on Twitter. Look, just test this, and I tried what I called an Inception test. So if anybody's seen the movie Inception about this dream inside a dream inside a dream kind of weirdness, it was kind of a tweet embedded in a tweet embedded in a tweet, and I was testing to see if it would work, and it didn't. So yeah, once you lose that, once you've gone beyond the secondary tweet, you lose the embed.
Okay, I'm going to talk about embedded just because it's triggered something. If you embed, a lot of people don't realize that you can actually embed tweets into blog posts or into a Facebook post or whatever else. You can actually embed them. And you can also embed video. So if you host video on Twitter directly, you can now embed them into your website as well.
Okay, actually, that we didn't have that on the agenda. How do we not
we didn't.
Twitter video on the agenda? That's totally new. So this is basically Vine. Let's be honest. Vine is just embedded directly in Twitter, and you can shoot video instead of taking a picture, and you can tweet video natively to Twitter. So I could literally, pick up my phone and go, yeah, we're having a great day, and I'm an idiot, great, whatever, and then it's straight in a tweet, and then I can embed that directly into a web page, into a blog post. And I think I shared with you. Did you have a look at that Medium page that I shared with you?
No.
No. Okay, I put it in the email I sent to you. But what I did is I wanted an Inception test. So I've just got a blog on Medium, medium.com, and what I did is I created a blog post, and then I embedded the tweet, which was a secondary tweet. So just going back to the embedded post, so what I wanted to see if it would happen is that I had a tweet embedded in a tweet embedded in a blog post. And it doesn't work. I was really disappointed. It's kind of this whole. Do you remember, like in the 80s, like for those of us that are that old, you used to have Top of the Pops, and you just have this weird effect of a screen within a screen within a screen within a screen. And I was kind of hoping it would do that and break something, but it didn't. So that's a bit boring. But yeah. So yes, you can absolutely embed tweets, and you can embed Facebook posts as well, I think, and you can certainly do Google Plus posts.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do that in a tutorial video or a blog post sometime and have a look in the comments. If this is a year from now, then have a look in the comments. It might be there. So good. So yeah, that embedded tweets thing. I don't know. I kind of miss the ability of like someone says morning everyone, and then you could sort of retweet that with and quote it the old way and put morning, how are you doing? And you can't do that anymore. It's now just that embedded tweet.
You can, because all you do is you hit reply, and then.
But then you lose their original statement.
But you were always going to do that anyway. Like if you did the RT, if you do it as a reply with their RT, their name, that's what people have been doing before, so you can do that.
I used to do it with, this was always the discrepancy that used to annoy me with Twitter, and there's still discrepancies between mobile app behavior and functionality and the desktop, and it drives me nuts, because on the app, when you did retweet, it would say, do you want to retweet? Which just means your tweet appears in my newsfeed as it was, got your face next to it, and it appears in my newsfeed so my followers see it. But when you did retweet, you could choose to quote. I'd have the text of your tweet there, and then I could put something at the beginning or the end. And you don't get that option. But on desktop, you never got that option. You would literally have to say, highlight the text, copy and paste, and it was all kind of pretty annoying.
Yeah,
but I missed that.
But that's the point of why it's a nice idea that they've actually done this, that it embeds it as a link or embedded tweet when you click the retweet. So that's quite new, but I think it's going to confuse some people ultimately.
Yeah, I think it already is. Okay, so moving on, one of the other things that is new is group DMs, direct messages. So for those of you maybe new to Twitter, direct messages is kind of the private communication channel. So I could send Nikki a direct message, and it's a conversation that's private between us, whereas our normal tweets are obviously public and everyone can see those. So this has been around since I think Twitter started, the whole direct message thing, and you had to be following someone for them to send you a direct message. Is that right? Yeah, I have to be following you, but you don't have to be following me for you to send me a direct message. So that was the kind of permission that you needed. And now we've got group direct messages, and I've not spent much time on this, so I'll let you explain kind of what this is and what it means.
I think Twitter has had to introduce group messaging, because messaging is the big thing, and Facebook, most teenagers that I know that use Facebook, they're really using the messaging facility of it. WhatsApp has got a phenomenal number of people who are using that application, which is messaging. Snapchat is growing, and lots of the messaging things. So Twitter needed to have a private messaging way that you could do it better than just like sending a little one message. So now they allow up to 20 people so you can almost create like a chat room within Twitter. I haven't seen it take off. I have been included in random spammy Twitter chat things, which I've then gone out of, sort of like, because I can unfollow the person so they don't add me again. But if anybody, it means you don't have to follow everybody, but people who are you follow. You can only invite people that are following you into the group one. Now, what they've recently introduced is that you can actually allow anybody to send you a DM. So for companies that have customer service and use Twitter as customer service, this is brilliant news, because it's like, for example, I've chatted to LinkedIn and they say, send me a private message, and you go, then I can't because you're not following me. And it causes problems. Whereas for a company that's using Twitter as customer service, which a lot of people do, it's brilliant news, because then anybody can send them a direct message. For a personal person, I get enough spam through my direct messages. I'm certainly not going to be switching on that anybody can send me a direct message. My policy with people, I tend to follow people back that follow me. So I open that door anyway for people to be able to communicate with me. So I don't have I'm too good for anybody else. I will just follow a narrow group of people. I will follow most people who follow me back, or people that I find are interesting. So it opens a lot of doors to people to contact me directly. So if you have a very closed idea, of who you're going to follow, you only want to follow a set group of people, then obviously this might be worth considering to let people talk to you without necessarily following them. But I think it can open, spammer's delight for a lot of those things.
Okay.
But I mean, the group DMs, I'm not too sure how it's going to take off. I haven't seen any dramatic things, but I've seen people use it. I suppose if you had say, for example, somebody's interested, you start chatting to somebody because they potentially might want one of your services that you offer. You could then bring somebody who is more of a specialist in a particular area into that group discussion.
Okay.
Or if you had a company, you could have a private a group discussion that is just for within the company, so you can talk about confidential things, etc.
Sure.
But I think with Twitter, because anybody can set up an account with any name, there's more likely that people could abuse it, so like you don't necessarily know who you're speaking to on Twitter at all. So I'm the jury's out. Okay. I'm quite curious to see what happens with group DMs.
But that option, the thing you mentioned about anyone, you don't have to be following the person for them to send you a DM, a direct message. Yeah. That's an option that you go into your settings, and there's an option to enable that for your account. So you're not suddenly going to get a ton of spam. And I assume, because I haven't been spammed to death, I haven't got to modify anything. The default is that option is off. Yes, so you have to go and make the choice that you are happy for people to be able to DM you. And if you are, a brand and you want people to say, I haven't got the shoes I ordered from your e-commerce store, then you might want to enable that and see how that goes. By the way, if you do that, just let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Just mention in the comments. Be really interesting to see just how spammy that gets. But I think it's good for that sort of thing. And then the second thing you mentioned was about the groups where you and I could be in say you, me, and Dave are in a chat, and there's the three of us, and we've got a direct message thread going.
This is Dave.
Oh, it's Dave. It's always Dave. All right, Jane. Fine, whatever. Dave and Jane. There you go. Done. Sexual equality. Done. So Dave and Jane, you and I are in a group, a private group direct message discussion. Can we then add Sarah into that later on in the discussion?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. And even if I initiate that group and I create that with the four of us in it, even though Sarah is not following me, you can invite her to the chat, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So just taking a step back to do a direct message, for me to direct message you, you have to be following me, but I can't then invite Sarah in, but you can because she's following you, even though it's my chat. Yeah. So you could end up with. I remember doing this with MSN Messenger, rest its soul. We did this thing ages ago at a company I used to work at about 10 years ago, and everyone around the office just started adding everybody in the office to this chat and just ringing their screen and doing all this stuff. If any of my old colleagues are watching, that was a great day. It was great fun. But we kept adding people in. They kept leaving the chat. We kept adding to them again, and the whole building was just ringing with everyone's screens, like going mad. But I think you could add loads and loads of people to those, but there's a limit on this of 20, isn't there?
20, yeah.
20 people. Okay.
I mean, that gets noisy enough anyway. I think 20 is far too many.
Well, the problem is, and we found it with that. It wasn't an experiment. It was just someone.
Yeah.
I don't even know how it started. It wasn't planned. Just everyone started doing it. But with Twitter, with direct messages, it would be the same as the experience that we had that day. You couldn't actually read the thread because it was going so quickly, and everyone was just kind of going, "Go away, leave me alone," and and everybody was going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What is doing that? Oh, he's added so and so," and it was just flying past on the screen so quick because 20 people were answering each other. And it was just noise in the end. It just didn't work. So 20 is probably too many.
Yeah, I was going to say you can also share pictures within the group. So you can share pictures. You could take a tweet. So if you wanted to talk about something, so you saw something interesting, you could take that tweet. If you look for the little dots that they have, the three little dots. Mm-hmm. So if you click on the tweet, below it, on the right-hand side of the tweet, you'll see three little dots, and if you click on that, you will be able to share that via direct message. So you could have that as a discussion point to talk about.
Those three little dots apparently are called the kebab menu.
Yeah. I've never heard that term, but that's...
No, there's two. I was just reading something the other day about this, and the three little lines. I'm completely digressing, by the way. I do this all the time. But the 3 little lines with the menu on like Chrome and a lot of the Apple apps, that's called the hamburger menu because it's like those 3 lines. And then because it's 3 dots, it's like a kebab menu. Like the, the skewer you get in a kebab shop. No? Okay, right. Anyway, that's what I do. I'm just sharing it. There we go.
Thank you, Mark.
No problem. You've learned something. Excellent. Moving on. Shall we move on?
Yes,
so,
swiftly.
Highlights. I haven't got enough hair for highlights. What are highlights? Tell me about highlights.
Okay. There's been quite a lot of talk because on Twitter, they're starting to bring an algorithm in. So people who've been on Twitter a long time going, well, this spoils Twitter because you want to be able to see the stream. Realistically, not that many people are reading their news feed. So even if you're following more than 100 people, there's a good chance that you don't read very much on your news feed, or you tend to interact with people or maybe follow people in lists. So realistically, it's not going to make that much difference to people because people aren't necessarily reading the content anyway. But the idea is so that you've got a better, what they call user experience, is that you can see, so they can see, you can see things that are more relevant, but it will also mean that you will see information from people you're not following. So if something's popular, so a lot of people have retweeted or interacted with a particular post, you might be presented with that because they think that's interesting. If you tweet a lot about social media and read a lot of social media content, you maybe see other social media stuff. So I haven't got highlights yet. It's going to be called highlights. They seem to have got rid of the discovery, which is unfortunate. Which was a way of streaming things, but I think they're going to bring back something that's probably a lot more useful than discovery was. So again, it's a new thing. I haven't seen it yet because they tend to roll out things. So we'll wait and see whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, because you're not actually reading the stream anyway, so it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first I'd heard of it actually when you were saying about it the other day. But I quite liked the Discovery tab. I used that more than the home feed. It seemed to be more attuned to the stuff that I wanted to read, and it did seem to work quite well. I didn't even think about it at the time. I just that was what my app on my phone, and I always use Twitter on my phone pretty much 90+% of the time. And it just, that was my kind of home tab, and I'd scroll through there and it'd find interesting things from people that I did follow and people I had in lists and people I wasn't following. So it was discovery, and it was showing me new stuff and people that I might want to follow. So it worked quite well, and I don't know why they've got rid of it, to be honest. It worked well for me.
I think they're just going to incorporate, I think it's basically what they're going to be introducing will incorporate that. So I don't think that's gone completely. I think it's just going to be repackaged.
Do you think, because there's been a lot of noise about Facebook, about it being a destination for content, and that changing, so there'll be kind of news stories, and that'll be where you go to get your news, whether your friends are sharing it or not. Do you think, I'm just totally off the bat here, by the way, I haven't thought this through at all, but do you think that's what Twitter might do with this, is actually if there are news stories from the web, that there'll be almost tweets that Twitter's created?
Yeah, I think this is what highlights is going to be. So it will actually aggregate news that they think is interesting to use. So it may mean that your news feed becomes more interesting again. Facebook has just announced, so they're doing a publishing thing. I've forgotten the name. It was I saw a tweet today about it, that Facebook are trying to get into the publishing. So LinkedIn publishers work really nicely for the platform. They want to do that as well. So it'll be interesting to see. So you can publish your content directly on Facebook. And I know Facebook has given video tremendous coverage. So if you post directly on Facebook, you get far more coverage than, say, on YouTube, the same videos, or if you post a link to the video. So that will be interesting. And I know we're completely diverting because we've gone way over the time anyway that you said. You said we're only talking half an hour.
Yeah, it's a Tillison half hour. So that's got to be at least an hour. So yeah, I tell you what is interesting. Two things you've said today actually is the first one that you said earlier was getting LinkedIn support via Twitter direct message. Why are people using Twitter to ask LinkedIn for support? They should be using LinkedIn. So that's kind of okay. There's a story behind that. But the other one is that you found out about a Facebook announcement through Twitter.
I think it was on Twitter. I read so much content. I have no idea where I get half the content from. So I move between Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. So I read tons and tons of things all the time. And yes,
just
don't know.
I know.
Yeah. So
inside this bubble and there's loads of noise.
Yeah. Wherever I saw it, it may have been on Twitter. It may have been on. Yeah, I'm not too sure where exactly I found it. So.
Do we have any? Is there some sort of timeline on highlights? Is this like imminent, days, weeks, or?
I believe they're rolling it out now.
Okay.
But I haven't got it yet. But I know last time it was very frustrating because I was training Twitter and I was waiting for me to get the new Twitter. So I was going into customers only having my Twitter, which was the old one. And they would have the new one, and trying to have to learn on the spot because there was nothing I could. So I'm hoping that they will roll out quite quickly to everybody. But I mean, when you were having your little inception game of embedded tweets, I didn't have them at that point. So so like things will roll out. They will roll out. Yay!
Brilliant.
I reckon they do it with smaller.
I'm sure someone from Twitter is watching our show and they're going to send us a message or something, I'm sure. But maybe they'll just let us have highlights or something. I don't know. So the last thing that I just wanted to talk about is, and I did tweet this the other day, and Donna Beckett, who was on the show a few weeks back, did a whole show about Google Plus, and she tweeted me back and said, "You don't miss anything." And I don't even know why I spotted it, but as you know, we run Twitter ad campaigns, and I'm sure you've all seen Twitter ads in your stream. And it was just really just quite interesting for me as an utter geek, and obviously we do loads with ads and Google ads and everything else as well. And over the last, I don't know when this quite happened, but with Google ads, so Google search, you go to Google, you type something, and up come the organic results and ads. And there was a policy change on that a while back where the ads then got these little yellow symbols next to them that said ad, and it was quite obvious that these were ads. And then when Twitter ads launched, I did a whole blog post, my first kind of, it was like an unboxing thing. I was kind of, oh, you can do this, it's cool, but they're missing this and this would be better, and I did that. But they launched with their ads with this little yellow symbol next to it. I think it was like a bullhorn or something, a little yellow one. And I noticed in the stream the other day that there were ads coming up, and they say promoted, but it doesn't have the little bullhorn. So let me just see if I can. Let me just share that. Present to everyone. So can you see that tweet there? So spread fast or whatever it is. So this is a promoted tweet, but you can see it's only just that text at the bottom. But the little yellow symbol that clearly said, "Hey guys, this is an ad," to kind of really define it as an ad, so you knew as a consumer that you were actually clicking an ad. And they've kind of removed this. So you and I were talking about this the other day. Let me just come back. You and I were talking about this the other day, and since I mentioned this to you earlier in the week, I was scrolling through on my phone, and then I noticed that some of the ads have now got the little yellow bullhorn next to them again. So I suspect that Twitter is kind of testing these. So I don't know if this is a user intent thing. Is this better or worse than our users, or somebody's got some legal thing going on saying no, you need to make it clear. Any thoughts?
I don't know. I think they're testing it. I suspect they're testing it. The thing is that to get Twitter ads, obviously Twitter needs to make money as a company, and advertising revenue is a big thing. For generating income.
So I'd rather have ads than you data. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously they want Twitter ads to be as effective as possible, and I would have thought that they would test it quite thoroughly rather than just take something away. They might just sort of see whether, split test things and see what difference it makes, and then come to a decision. Yeah. Because it does say that it's promoted. It's not as obvious that it's promoted as before.
Yeah, it's defined. It's not as clearly defined. It's not as obvious as it was. But it was just interesting for me that I mean, 2-3 years ago, I had people going, I had no idea those were ads on Google. And now it's like bright yellow next to it, and it's really, really obvious. And it's kind of, well, why have they made that change? And it was just quite interesting that Twitter had kind of started with this, this is promoted, and it's really obviously a sponsored tweet. And now they've kind of gone, well, it's promoted. And they're just keeping like a little bit quiet about it.
But do you see, in some ways, okay, I mean, and this is why it's important to test it, because I might go to the yellow and might notice that particular tweet more because it's got a bit of yellow.
Yeah.
So I think this is why it's important that they test it. I'm not too sure why there's, sort of like why there's both at the moment, because maybe they've,
I mean, I certainly haven't seen any sort of official announcement on it. So I'm not saying there isn't one, I just haven't seen one, but they're obviously testing that. And I did speak to Perry, who's our specialist on that, and he runs Twitter ad campaigns for us. And I said to him, have you noticed over the last week or two if there's been a higher click-through rate, higher response rate? And I think he did say there had been some fluctuation, but you got to remember that he's always optimizing things and testing different things outside of that. So yes, there'd been some change, but you couldn't absolutely say that it was that response or not. Have you noticed, just talking about ads though, have you noticed, I don't know if this is just my perception, but have you noticed that more ads in the stream recently? Do you think that the volume of ads a bit more?
No, well, I suppose I don't tend to read my newsfeed that much because I use Twitter lists. I see things on my mobile. I haven't noticed any sponsored ads to the same degree that I do, give a look at my news feed. But, sort of like it might also be that because the yellow's gone, I haven't noticed it as much. So,
no.
sorry.
Ads still appear in lists though, don't they? If you're looking at a list stream rather than the home feed, you still get them in lists, don't you? They still appear in the notification stream, I'm sure they do.
If you're following the person, I've never seen them in my notification stream at all.
Well, I know they're definitely appearing in. So if I look at your profile and your recent tweets, they're definitely appearing in that. 100%.
Okay.
They definitely are in that. And I thought they were just appearing basically everywhere because, like you, and I did a separate video, and I'll put a link in after the show. But I did a separate video on how I use lists because I think I use them the same as you. I've got a kind of Hampshire list, and I've got a Surrey list, and I've got a kind of web folks list, which is kind of designers and WordPress people and Magento people, that kind of stuff. And if I want to kind of have a look what's going on in the kind of tech world, then I'll go and look at that list and see what's happening and engage with those people and chat to them.
I've certainly not noticed them, but obviously I'll pay more attention now to it. I tend to follow, see people that I know or concentrate on the tweet itself, so I don't necessarily pay much attention to advertising, whereas obviously that's part of the service you offer, so you would pay more attention to what you can see.
Sure. Okay, brilliant stuff. So I'll put a link into to your book as well. I guess we can buy that on Amazon and all good web bookstores and some bad ones.
No, unfortunately, it's not in bookshops.
Is it not?
But it is. No, it's just online. So it's in the physical book or on Kindle, of course. But
so I can grab a link to Amazon or something, and people can buy that.
Yeah.
Good. I'll do that, and then take a really good photo. And we need where do we need them? Where do we need the collectors? At top of the Empire State, you got one there?
No, but I have got somebody coming on the Queen Mary II arriving with the Statue of Liberty behind her. So I have one there. I've got them all over the world, but not. I've actually got none in Australia and New Zealand at the moment.
Right, okay. So
there's lots of European countries.
So we'd like, and we'll put a link in if you do it, and we'll put a link to the tweet if someone does this, right? So we need one on top of the Empire State. We need one on the Great Wall of China, please. That'd be great. And what do you want? One on Ayers Rock. That'd be good.
I think it's not necessarily the location. It's if you're doing something unusual. So I've got somebody like sitting on the van, like as a marquee company, inside outside. They actually all sat on top of their van with the book, so like, and I think anything that makes them smile is good. So I had beer bottles from Beer Art Hop, it's an independent brewery, and they had pictures of the beer bottles with glasses on them as though they were reading my book. So it's
awesome.
Anything that makes me smile is
Excellent.
Basically good.
Good. Thanks ever so much for coming on the show. Appreciate you taking time out. It's been good fun, and there's a lot of stuff, and I'm sure it won't stop. So sometime we'll do another show about more new features. We haven't quite decided what the next show is going to be, but it'll be more about how to grow your business online using Twitter or Google Plus or SEO or pay-per-click, Google Ads, Facebook, whatever it might be. So anything digital, so make sure you join us for that. But for now, thanks so much, Nikki. Really enjoyed it. And I'm going to finish my nice Cornwall mug cup of tea. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me, Mike. Bye.
Cheers.